To start off, I shall be doing this video about ticks, poison plants such as poison oak, ivy, and sumac, and allergies on trip. So I'll be starting off with that last one, allergies. So the most important thing to consider is prevention, which means you got to check your food for may contains and contains for allergens that you wish to avoid. And if the food does contain it, then you're going to want to get rid of it, maybe find an alternative. But if there is a reason that you can't get rid of it, like say somebody else needs or really, really wants it, then you're going to want to put it in a solid container and wrap that up in a plastic bag just to make sure that there is no cross-contamination. So I got two containers here. This one is one that I wouldn't recommend because of the way that the lid is attached. It's not very secure. It's perfectly fine for putting in the fridge, but it's not so good when it's going to be jostled around inside of a pack in the middle of the wilderness. So I would recommend something like this that has a latch-on lid. It's generally made of solid, less flimsy plastic, so if you were to say throw the food with the allergen in here and then wrap that up in a plastic bag, and then you'd be good to go, all considered. But that sometimes will not prevent an allergic reaction. So moving on, sometimes you can't prevent allergic reactions. As somebody with allergies, this is something that I have to live with, the possibility that I will have an allergic reaction on trip. And so in order to be prepared, I always bring one of these, an EpiPen, with me, so that if I do go into anaphylactic shock on trip, this is a more severe allergic reaction, then I can administer that and try and get to a hospital as quickly as possible. If, say, it's a less severe food allergy, then you can administer an antihistamine such as Benadryl. This comes in a variety of forms and is available over the counter in a variety of drugstores. To the next item, poison oak, poison sumac, and poison ivy. Contact with these plants will generally lead to a itchy rash that can last up to a couple weeks depending on the level of exposure. Treatment, if exposed to these plants, would be to wash the area in cold soapy water because the oil that causes the rash is soluble in soap. If you do not have access to soap while on trip, then it is generally recommended that you wash the area with cold water, and cold water only, because warm water will open up the pores of the skin and let the oil get in even further. Alcohol swabs will apparently work as well, though soap is the most highly recommended. Prevention methods for this include stuff such as tucking in your pant legs and washing anything that's washable. Well, as soon as you get back, because the oil can remain active on clothing for anywhere up to weeks after the fact. The last and most dangerous item on the list, ticks, a species of insect that are carriers of Lyme disease and can transfer it to humans by biting us. Ticks are preventable by wearing long pants that are tucked in, as well as bug spray. If you find one latched onto you, then do not smack it. Use one of the many removal methods that are out there. You can use anything from tweezers to tooth floss. I prefer the Q-tip method, which involves using a wet Q-tip to trace circular patterns around the tick firmly, but not hard enough to crush it. What ends up happening is that the tick will get aggravated enough that it will release on its own. This is the best method, if you ask me, because it does not harm the tick. Instead, it simply gets it to release on its own. Additional prevention methods also involve, whenever you get back from a trip, washing all of your clothing in a hot water cycle. That way the ticks will die because they cannot survive the hot temperatures. This concludes my presentation on the survival methods for certain pests in the wilderness and allergic reactions on trip.